still remember the smell of that bar. Cigarettes, spilled beer, and something sweet I couldn't place. I'd been wandering Pattaya for 3 hours, looking for a place my friend had mentioned, when I pushed through those plastic curtains and saw her. Nalin. Sitting on some guy's lap, laughing like she'd never laughed with me. "What are you doing here?" I should have said. Instead, I just stood there like an idiot, watching the woman I thought loved me run her fingers through another man's hair. She had 2 more guys at her table. One older than me, one barely old enough to drink. All of them hanging on her every word like she was some kind of goddess. I'd bought her a motorbike 2 weeks earlier. I wasn't going to bring this memory up again tonight, but earlier this week, I got an email from a longtime viewer of the channel. He said he'd been following for a while quietly, faithfully, and that my last story gave him the courage to write down his own. His words weren't fancy, but they were honest. Brutal, even. And when I read them, I felt my chest tighten. At first, there was shock, that uncanny jolt when someone else's pain mirrors your own so perfectly you wonder if they'd been reading your diary. Then came anger, not at him, but at the way so many of us fall into the same trap, blinded by hope when we should have seen the truth. And finally there was a deep sadness, because I could feel the loneliness seeping out of every sentence. The kind of loneliness that doesn't just leave you empty, it leaves you ashamed. That email pulled me back here tonight. And before I continue, I want to thank you. Yes, you, watching this right now. Please leave me a comment and let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. I read them all, and it means more than you know. And to those who keep coming back, story after story, you're the reason I can keep going. This is my super thank you. Without you, I couldn't sit here and pour my heart out. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and join the conversation below. Because tonight, I'm ready to tell you everything. Let me take you back to where it all started. Paid her rent for 3 months. She'd cried when I gave her the cash, said no one had ever taken care of her like that. "You're my only one," she'd whispered against my neck that night. My only one. I believed every word. The older guy was buying her drinks now, same brand she always ordered when we were together. The young one kept touching her arm, same way I used to. She kissed the one holding her, slow and deliberate, like she was putting on a show. My chest felt hollow, like someone had reached in and pulled out everything that mattered. I wanted to scream, to flip tables, to demand an explanation. Instead, I backed toward the door, hoping she wouldn't see me. But she did. Our eyes met for maybe 3 seconds. She didn't look surprised, didn't look guilty, just looked away, like I was a stranger who'd accidentally made eye contact, like I never existed. I stumbled out of there and walked the streets until dawn, replaying every conversation we'd had, every promise she'd made. "I'm different," she'd told me on our first real date. "I'm not like other girls here." I'd wanted to believe her so badly that I ignored every red flag, every warning sign, every moment when her story didn't quite add up. Minnesota winters are brutal when you're alone. I'd been retired for 2 years, and every day felt the same. Wake up, coffee, check emails nobody sent, watch TV until bedtime. My daughters live their own lives now. Sarah in Portland, Emma in Denver. We texted on birthdays and holidays. That was about it. I tried dating apps, coffee meetups, volunteering at the library. Nothing stuck. I felt invisible, like the world had moved on without me. Chuck Morrison changed everything with one phone call. We'd taught at the same school for 20 years before he moved to Bangkok in 2018. "Vince, you sound dead inside," he said during our monthly catch-up. "Come visit Thailand. 2 weeks. I'll show you around." I'm 63, Chuck. I don't need to chase women halfway around the world. Who said anything about chasing? Just come. The beaches are beautiful, food's amazing, people are friendly. You might remember what it feels like to be alive again. I laughed, but something in his voice stuck with me. That night I Googled Pattaya, saw pictures of beaches, temples, markets, normal tourist stuff. But the comments section was full of stories from guys my age talking about finding happiness they'd never imagined. "Best decision I ever made," one wrote. "Wish I'd come here 20 years ago," said another. I booked a flight 3 days later, told myself it was just a vacation, a chance to get some sun, try new food, maybe learn a little about Buddhism. I wasn't looking for love. Love had already failed me twice. First with Janet, my ex-wife, who left me for her yoga instructor. Then with Rebecca, the librarian who decided I was emotionally unavailable. After 6 months. I was done with complications, done with expectations, done with getting my hopes up. Thailand would be simple. Safe. Just me and a good book on the beach. The flight from Minneapolis to Bangkok took 22 hours with layovers. I spent most of it staring out the window, wondering if I was making a mistake. What did a retired school principal from Minnesota have in common with a country I'd never seen? But as we descended into Bangkok, watching the lights spread out below like scattered diamonds, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. The guest house in Pattaya was nothing fancy. Clean room, cold shower, balcony overlooking the street. Chuck had recommended it because it was quiet, away from the main tourist strips. My first night, I walked around like every other confused foreigner, dodging motorbikes and street vendors, trying to figure out where to eat. Everything was overwhelming. The heat, the noise, the constant stream of people trying to sell me something. I ended up at a pizza place run by an Italian guy who'd been there 15 years. "First time?" he asked. When I nodded, he smiled. "Give it 3 days. Either you'll run home or you'll never want to leave." The second night, I found a small bar called Moonlight. Nothing special, just plastic chairs and warm beer. But it was quiet, and the bartender spoke decent English. I was nursing a Singha, reading on my phone, when she walked in. Nalin. She wasn't dressed like the other girls I'd seen. Simple jeans, white t-shirt, minimal makeup. She sat at a table near the back, alone, looking as lost as I felt. Most of the working girls in Pattaya were aggressive, approaching foreign men within minutes. She didn't even look in my direction. After an hour of stealing glances, I finally walked over. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" She looked up, and I saw the most beautiful eyes I'd ever encountered. Dark brown, almost black, but with flecks of gold that caught the light. "You can sit," she said in careful English. "But I don't speak much." "That's okay." "I don't speak much either." She smiled then, just slightly, and I felt something shift inside me. We sat in comfortable silence for maybe 10 minutes before she asked, "Where are you from?" "Minnesota. It's in America. Very cold." "I know Minnesota. I learned geography in school." "You have big lakes there." I was surprised. Most people had never heard of my state. "You're very smart." My English teacher said I was smart. But smart girls don't end up in Pattaya. There was sadness in her voice that made my chest ache. "What's your name?" "Nalin." "It means lotus flower in Thai." "What's yours?" "Vince." "It means conquering in Latin, but I've never conquered anything." She laughed, and the sound was like music. "Maybe you will conquer Thailand." We talked until closing time. She told me she was from Isan, the poor northeast region. Her parents were rice farmers. She'd come to Pattaya to work and send money home. "What kind of work?" I asked. "Different jobs," she said, looking away. "Restaurant, hotel, whatever I can find." I didn't push. Something about her seemed fragile, like she might break if I asked too many questions. When the bar closed, I offered to walk her home. "That's very kind," she said, "but I can take care of myself." I didn't see her again for 3 days. Then, on my 6th night in Thailand, she walked into the same bar and sat at the same table. This time, she looked at me and smiled. By the end of my first week, Nalin and I had fallen into a routine. We'd meet at Moonlight around 8, talk until closing, then walk along the beach. She was curious about everything. What did I teach? What were my students like? Did I miss Minnesota? Why did I come to Thailand alone? My friend Chuck said it would be good for me. My wife left me 4 years ago. My daughters are grown up. I felt invisible back home. Invisible? Like nobody saw me anymore. Like I didn't matter. She took my hand then, the first time we'd touched. Her skin was soft, warm. "I see you," she said. "You matter to me." Those words hit me harder than they should have. When was the last time someone had said I mattered? I'd been planning to fly home after 2 weeks, but 3 days before my departure, I couldn't imagine leaving her. I called the airline and extended my stay another month. "Really?" she said when I told her. "You want to stay?" "I want to stay with you." She threw her arms around me, and for a moment I felt young again. We took a ferry to Koh Samet the next weekend. It was her idea. I want to show you real Thailand, she said. Not just bars and tourists. The island was paradise. White sand beaches, clear blue water, tiny restaurants serving the best food I'd ever tasted. We rented a bungalow right on the beach. For 3 days, we lived like a real couple. She made me laugh with stories about her childhood. I told her about teaching, about my daughters, about dreams I'd forgotten I had. What do you want to do with your life? I asked as we watched the sunset from our porch. I want to have a small coffee shop, she said. Nothing fancy. Just a place where people can sit and read books and feel happy. That sounds wonderful. It's just a dream. Dreams cost money. How much money? She laughed. Too much. Maybe 200,000 baht to start. That's like 6 years of saving for me. I did the math in my head, about $6,000. I'd spent more than that on my truck. Maybe I could help. No, she said quickly. I don't want your money. I want you. But that night, she cried in my arms. I'm tired of this life, she whispered. I'm tired of pretending to be happy when I'm not. I'm tired of being alone. You're not alone anymore, I told her. I'm here. But for how long? You'll go back to America, and I'll still be here, still stuck. I wanted to tell her I'd stay forever, but the words seemed too big, too soon. Instead, I held her tighter and made a decision that would change everything. The next morning, I went to the ATM and withdrew 50,000 baht, enough for her rent for 3 months. What is this? She asked when I handed her the envelope. I don't want you to worry about money while we figure things out. Vince, I can't. You're not taking it. I'm giving it. There's a difference. She cried again, but these were different tears, happy tears. No one has ever taken care of me like this, she said. You're different from other men. You're different from other women. And I meant it. She wasn't like the aggressive bar girls I'd seen. She was gentle, thoughtful, real. When we made love that night, it felt like more than just physical. It felt like connection, like coming home to someone who actually wanted me there. Chuck called me 2 weeks into my extended stay. How's the vacation going? It's going great. I met someone. Silence on the other end. Then, what kind of someone? Her name's Nalin. She's wonderful, Chuck. Completely different from what you'd expect. Vince, buddy, I've got to ask, where did you meet her? A quiet bar called Moonlight. Why? Another pause. Listen, I don't want to rain on your parade, but be careful. These girls are professionals. They know exactly what to say, how to act. I've seen guys like you get completely taken in. I felt my jaw clench. She's not like that. They're all like that, Vince. It's survival for them. They have multiple guys on the hook, tell each one he's special, different, the only one. They're very good at it. You don't know her. I know Thailand. I've been here 5 years. I've watched good men get their hearts broken and their bank accounts emptied. Just keep your eyes open, okay? I hung up angry, but his words stuck with me. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. Nalin's phone was always face down when we were together. If it buzzed, she'd glance at it nervously but never answer. Once, when she was in the bathroom, it rang 3 times in a row. The caller ID just said P. When I mentioned it, she shrugged. Wrong number probably. But her voice was different, tight. Who's P? I don't know. Maybe Porn, my friend from work. The explanation felt rehearsed. Another night, we were supposed to meet at 8. She didn't show up until almost 10, looking flustered. Sorry. I had to help my aunt with something. What kind of something? Family business. Very boring. She changed the subject quickly, but I noticed she smelled like cologne. Not the cheap stuff I wore, but something expensive, sophisticated. New perfume? I asked. My aunt gave it to me. She likes fancy things. I wanted to believe her, but doubt was creeping in like water through a crack. 2 days later, I suggested we spend the afternoon together. I can't, she said. I have appointment. What kind of appointment? Doctor, lady doctor, private things. I could go with you, wait outside. No. I'm shy about these things. I'll call you tonight, okay? She kissed me quickly and walked away, but I saw her get on a motorbike with a young Thai guy. When I asked about it later, she said it was her cousin giving her a ride. The explanations were always reasonable, always delivered with a smile and a kiss, but they were coming more frequently now. Doctor appointments, family emergencies, problems with her apartment that only she could handle. And that phone, always face down, always silent when we were together. "You don't trust me?" she asked one night when I questioned why she'd been unreachable for 6 hours. "I was sleeping. I told you I was tired. I do trust you. I just worry when I can't reach you. You sound like jealous boyfriend," she said, but she was smiling. "Are you jealous boyfriend now?" "Maybe a little." "Good. Jealous means you care." She kissed me then, soft and sweet, and for a moment all my doubts melted away. This was real. What we had was real. Chuck didn't know what he was talking about. "My motorbike is broken," Nalin told me one evening as we sat at moonlight. She looked upset, genuinely distressed. "I can't go to work tomorrow." "What's wrong with it?" "Engine problem. Very expensive to fix. Maybe 15,000 baht." She sighed, staring at her hands. "I don't have that money. I could lend it to you." "No, I can't borrow from you. You already help too much with my rent." "Then let me help you buy a new one." She looked up, eyes wide. "New motorbike? That's maybe 40,000 baht." "I can afford it." "Vince, that's too much. I can't accept." "You're not accepting charity. You're accepting help from someone who cares about you." She was quiet for a long time, then tears started flowing down her cheeks. "Why are you so good to me?" "Because you make me happy. Because for the first time in years, I feel like I matter to someone. You matter to me more than anyone." The next day, we went to the Honda dealer. She was like a kid in a candy store, looking at all the shiny bikes, checking out the colors and features. She settled on a red Honda Click, practical but pretty. When I handed over the cash, she cried again. Right there in the dealership, she wrapped her arms around me and sobbed. Thank you. I'll never forget this." The salesman smiled knowingly. Probably saw this scene every week. Foreign guy, local girl, expensive gift. But it didn't feel transactional to me. It felt like love. That evening, she insisted on taking me for a ride on her new bike. We went to a part of Pattaya I'd never seen, away from the tourist areas. Simple houses, local restaurants, families eating dinner on their porches. "This is real Thailand," she said as we stopped at a roadside stall for som tam. "Not the Pattaya tourists see. It's beautiful. Tomorrow I want to take you to meet my aunt," she said suddenly. "Really?" "She wants to meet my American boyfriend." The word boyfriend made my heart skip. We'd never defined what we were, but hearing her say it felt official, important. "I'd love to meet your aunt. She speaks little English, but she'll like you. She says foreign men are more serious about relationships than Thai men. What do you think?" "I think you're the most serious man I've ever met." She reached across the plastic table and took my hand. "I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hit me like lightning. "I think I'm falling in love with you too." We sat there holding hands as the sun set, surrounded by the sounds of real Thai life. Motorbikes, vendors calling out their wares, children playing in the street. It felt authentic in a way that Pattaya Beach Road never did. "I have idea," she said on the ride home. "What if you stay in Thailand longer? Not just vacation, but real life." "What do you mean?" "You're retired. You can live anywhere. Thailand is cheap. We could get apartment together, maybe start small business." The thought had been lurking in the back of my mind for weeks, but hearing her say it made it real. "You really want that?" "I want that more than anything. I want to wake up next to you every day. I want to take care of you, cook for you, make you happy. My daughters would think I'd lost my mind." "Your daughters live their own lives. When do you get to live yours?" She had a point. What was waiting for me in Minnesota? An empty house, long winters, and the slow march toward irrelevance? "Let me think about it," I said. "Of course. Big decision. But Vince?" "Yeah? I promise I will make you happy. Every day, I will make you happy." I believed her completely. I'd been in Thailand for almost 2 months when everything collapsed. It was supposed to be a simple evening. Chuck had finally come down from Bangkok to meet Nalin, and we'd arranged to have dinner at a restaurant near Walking Street. I got there early, ordered a beer, and waited. An hour passed. Chuck texted that he was running late, stuck in traffic from the airport. Nalin hadn't answered her phone all day, which was unusual but not unprecedented. She sometimes had family issues that kept her busy. I decided to walk around while I waited, maybe find a small bar where we could have a quiet drink before dinner. That's when I got lost. Pattaya's side streets all looked the same, especially at night. Neon signs in Thai script, narrow alleys branching off in every direction, the constant buzz of motorbikes weaving through pedestrians. I thought I was heading back toward the restaurant when I saw a bar I didn't recognize. Lucky Star, in English letters, with red curtains and loud music spilling out onto the street. I almost walked past, but something made me look through the open doorway. And there she was, Nalin, sitting on the lap of a man who looked about 50, white hair, expensive watch. She was laughing at something he'd said, running her fingers through his hair the same way she did with me. My first thought was that I was seeing things, that it was just a girl who looked like her. But then she turned slightly, and I saw her profile, the small scar on her chin from when she'd fallen off her bicycle as a child. She'd told me that story. It was definitely her. There were 2 other men at the table, one older than me, maybe 70, with a walking stick propped against his chair. The other couldn't have been more than 25, Thai, wearing a gold chain and designer sneakers. All 3 of them were focused on her like she was the center of the universe. The older man was buying drinks. The young one kept touching her arm. The one holding her whispered something in her ear, and she threw back her head and laughed. It was the same laugh she'd given me when I'd told her about my students, about my clumsy attempts to learn Thai, about how Minnesota winters made me feel like hibernating. I stood there paralyzed, watching this woman I thought I loved perform for an audience I didn't know existed. She was wearing the dress I'd bought her last week. The blue one, she'd said, made her feel beautiful. She was drinking the same brand of whiskey she always ordered when we went out. She was touching these men the same way she touched me. Like each gesture was spontaneous, genuine, meant just for them. The worst part was how natural it looked. This wasn't awkward or forced. This was practiced, professional, perfected. She caught one man's hand and pressed it to her cheek. She whispered something to the young one that made him grin. She kissed the man holding her, slow and deliberate, while the others watched. I wanted to storm in there, flip tables, demand explanations. I wanted to scream that she was my girlfriend, that I'd bought her a motorbike, that she'd promised to introduce me to her aunt. Instead, I just stood there like a statue, watching the woman I'd fallen in love with prove that everything I'd believed was a lie. Then she saw me. Our eyes met across the smoky bar, and for a moment, everything stopped. The music faded, the conversations dimmed, the world narrowed to just the 2 of us staring at each other. I waited for her to look surprised, guilty, caught. I waited for her to push the man away, to stand up, to say something, anything that would explain what I was seeing. But she didn't do any of that. She looked at me for maybe 3 seconds, her expression completely blank, like she was trying to place where she'd seen me before. Then she turned back to the man on whose lap she was sitting and said something that made the whole table laugh. She didn't look in my direction again. I stumbled out of there and walked the streets for hours, my mind reeling. Every conversation we'd had, every promise she'd made, every tear she'd cried suddenly looked different. The phone calls she couldn't answer. The appointments she couldn't explain. The family emergencies that always seemed to happen when I wanted to spend time with her. It all made sense now. Horrible, perfect sense. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my balcony watching the street below, replaying every moment of our relationship, looking for signs I'd missed. They were all there, glaring, and obvious now that I knew the truth. The way she never let me pick her up at her apartment. The careful way she deflected questions about her past. The fact that she never introduced me to friends, never seemed to have a life outside our scheduled meetings. At sunrise, I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again an hour later. Same thing. By noon, I was desperate enough to walk to her apartment building, the address I'd never been invited to but had memorized from delivering her rent money. The building manager, an elderly Thai woman who spoke broken English, told me Nalin hadn't been there in 3 days. She come, she go, the woman said with a shrug. Always different men. The words hit like a physical blow. I waited outside for 4 hours, hoping she'd show up, hoping I could at least get an explanation. She never came. That evening, I went back to Lucky Star, the bar where I'd seen her. She wasn't there, but the bartender recognized me. "You looking for Nalin?" he asked in accented English. When I nodded, he laughed. "She worked many bars. Tonight maybe Dollhouse, maybe Angel Club. She very popular. How long has she been working bars?" "Long time. Maybe 2 years. She good at job?" "What job exactly?" He looked at me like I was stupid. "You know what job?" I spent the next 3 days searching for her. I went to every bar Chuck had warned me about, every club I could find, showing her photo to bartenders and security guards. Some recognized her, some didn't. The ones who did all said the same thing. She was a professional, one of the best, could juggle multiple customers without any of them knowing about the others. Very clever girl. One bartender told me. She always pick older men, lonely men. They fall in love fast, spend money fast. She very good at making them feel special. How many men? Right now, maybe 4 or 5 regular customers, change all the time. I found her on my 4th day of searching, at a street market near Jomtien Beach. She was buying fruit, alone for once, wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt. She looked so normal, so much like the girl I'd thought I'd fallen in love with. I walked up behind her and said her name, Nalin. She turned around, saw me, and her face went completely blank. Not surprised, not guilty, not angry. Just empty. "What do you want?" she asked in English, but her voice was different. Colder. "I want to understand. I want to know why." "Understand what?" "You know what? I saw you at Lucky Star. With those men." She looked around nervously, like she was worried someone might overhear us. "You were spying on me?" "I was walking by. I saw you." So? So you told me I was your only one? You said you loved me." She sighed, like I was being tiresome. "You are very nice man, Vince, but you go back to America soon. I have to live here." I offered to stay. We talked about getting an apartment together. That was just talk, dreams. It was real for me. "I know, that's why you give money, buy motorbike. You believe in dreams." Her matter-of-fact tone was worse than anger would have been. There was no emotion there, no trace of the woman who'd cried in my arms, who'd told me I mattered to her more than anyone. "Did any of it mean anything to you? Any of it at all?" She looked at me for a long moment, and I thought I saw a flicker of something. Regret, maybe, or sadness. But then it was gone. "You should go home now," she said quietly. "Thailand is not good for you." She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of shoppers and vendors. I never saw her again. I stayed in Pattaya for another week, not because I was still looking for her, but because I wasn't ready to face what came next. Going home meant admitting to Chuck that he'd been right, admitting to my daughters that I'd been a fool, admitting to myself that I'd been so desperate for connection that I'd ignored every warning sign. The guest house owner, a German expat named Klaus, who'd been living in Thailand for 15 years, found me sitting by the pool one afternoon, staring at nothing. "First heartbreak in Thailand?" he asked, settling into the chair next to mine. "That obvious? You have the look. We all get it eventually. How many guys like me come through here? Hundreds, thousands, all convinced they've found something real, something different. Most figure it out faster than you did. So I'm just another stupid tourist. You're a lonely man who wanted to believe in love. Nothing stupid about that." Klaus ordered us both beers and told me his story. He'd come to Thailand 20 years ago after his wife died, met a bar girl named Samsri, spent 2 years and 30,000 euros before catching her with another man. "I was furious for months," he said. "But then I realized something. She never lied to me about what she was. I lied to myself about what I wanted to see. Nalin told me she was different. Maybe she wanted to be different. Maybe with you, for a few moments, she actually was. But wanting to be something and being something are 2 different things." I thought about that conversation for days afterward. Had Nalin ever actually lied to me? She'd told me she worked different jobs. She'd said she was from Isan, that her parents were rice farmers, that she sent money home. Maybe all of that was true. Maybe her tears when I gave her the motorbike money were real. Maybe she did dream about opening a coffee shop someday. The lies weren't in what she'd said. They were in what I'd chosen to believe about what she'd said. I'd wanted so badly to be special, to be the one man who could save her from whatever life she was living, that I'd ignored the obvious truth. She was a working girl, a professional. And I was just another customer who'd gotten too attached. The morning before my flight home, I walked down to Pattaya beach and sat on the sand watching the sunrise. Vendors were setting up their umbrellas and chairs, getting ready for another day of selling paradise to tourists who didn't understand what they were really buying. I thought about calling Sarah and Emma, trying to explain where I'd been and what had happened. But what would I say? That I'd spent 2 months in Thailand chasing a woman half my age who turned out to be exactly what everyone had warned me she was? That I'd been so lonely I'd convinced myself that bought affection was real love? The truth was harder than that. The truth was that I hadn't come to Thailand looking for love. I'd come looking for someone to need me, someone to make me feel important again. Nalin had given me exactly that, for exactly as long as I was willing to pay for it. She hadn't broken my heart. She'd simply stopped pretending to be what I needed her to be. The real betrayal wasn't hers. It was mine. I'd betrayed myself by refusing to see what was right in front of me. I'd betrayed my own intelligence, my own experience, my own instincts, all because being fooled felt better than being alone. On the plane back to Minneapolis, I wrote letters to my daughters that I never sent. Long explanations about loneliness and mistakes and the lies we tell ourselves when reality becomes too hard to bear. Instead, I sent them each a text when I landed, back from Thailand. Would love to take you to dinner soon if you're free. Sarah texted back within an hour. Dad, you've been gone for 2 months and that's all you have to say? Call me. Emma's response came later. Are you okay? You sound different. I realized they were right. I was different, not better or worse, just different. Thailand hadn't broken me, but it had stripped away some illusions I'd been carrying around for years. The illusion that love could be bought, that loneliness could be cured by someone else, that running away from your problems was the same as solving them. I still send birthday cards to my daughters. They call me more often now, maybe because they can hear something in my voice that wasn't there before. Not wisdom exactly, but honesty. The acknowledgement that I'm not the man I thought I was, not the father I thought I'd been, not the person who has life figured out. I'm just someone who made a mistake and learned something from it. Sometimes late at night in my empty house, I think about Nalin. I wonder if she ever thinks about me, if any of our time together felt real to her, if she's still working the bars, or if she found a way out. I wonder if she ever did open that coffee shop she dreamed about. But mostly, I don't wonder. Mostly, I try to focus on the life I actually have, the people who actually know me, the connections that don't require payment to maintain. It's a smaller life than the one I imagined in Thailand, but it's mine, and after everything I've been through, that has to be enough.